I would know they're not paying attention to details. I'd be like, okay, that person has such lack in details that they're going to miss other things when I hire them. Hello, Chef Marcus Guiliano here, and I'm your chef on a mission. Today's mission is hiring and firing employees. I'm going to read a comment here, a post from a forum, restaurant, bar owners, operators, and managers by somebody who's 24 years old, who's looking to hire people. I can totally relate to this post because I was 24 years old when I was running a country club. 30 employees reported to me. I was hired when I was 24 years old, and yeah, hiring employees can be tough, especially when you're at a young age, because chances are the people you're hiring are older than you, and that might not sit well with certain employees. And it's a major. You gotta have a lot of confidence. So let's go into this comment here, this post. Hey everyone, I'm looking for advice on interviewing and hiring. This would be my first time since I'd be opening my first coffee shop next week. Hopefully, all depending on how the inspectors work. Those are the health inspectors, I'm assuming. Anyways, I sent out an ad on Craigslist and got dozens responses, and the majority are older than me. I'm just 24 and I don't know. It just seems weird interviewing people who average in their late 20s and 30s. I placed in the ad as a cash register helper since I'll be the barista back of the house, so any advice or helpful hints? Thank you. So, like I said, I can totally relate to that. 24 years old, I was hired as the chef of a country club. I had like 6, 7, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 people reporting to me. And within 3 months, I was promoted to the executive food director. Now I had 3 or 4 managers reporting to me, plus all of their staff. So 24, 25 years old, I was thrown right into it. And here's the number one thing that I was never afraid of. I was never afraid to hire people that were qualified. And a lot of chefs, a lot of managers are afraid to hire qualified people because they're afraid of losing their job. I was never afraid of that. I always thought of it as, okay, if I'm going to hire somebody who's qualified, it's going to make my job easier. It's going to make me look better. It's going to make the food better. It's going to make the service better. It's going to make whatever look better. So I hired I was 24, 25. I hired a 30-year-old sous chef who had a lot more experience than me. And I hired him as a sous chef. And he came in and totally rocked it out. My dining room manager there, she was awesome. So, and her assistant was awesome. So it's that thing where I was never afraid, never, ever be afraid to do that. That's the worst thing. Now here's my second advice for this. Second advice is, okay, when you interview people are going to tell you whatever they want. They're going to tell you the best story out there, the best game. Oh, I did this and that. They're going to put on their resume. And not only have I seen that happen to me, and then the people be total duds, but now with all these online resumes, I can go search past employees that have worked for me, and I can look what's on their resume. And when you look at people saying that, oh, they grew my business $500,000 in 1 year, I'm like, okay, first of all, the person only worked for me for 3 months, and they didn't grow my business $500,000. They barely grew my business $5. So people just say whatever they want just because they want to get a job, right? So, my back itches. So, here's how you handle those people. I learned this when I was in a conversation with Bill Glazer. Bill Glazer, I was having a conversation with him one time. Bill wrote this book here. Met Bill a couple times. Great guy, Bill Glazer. Outrageous marketing, outrageous advertising that's outrageously successful. This is a really cool book. So he prescribes a method of drilling people into a corner. And I've done this ever since I met him years and years ago, and it's been very, very successful. So if I interview somebody, I'm like, okay, tell me about your job as the fry cook. And they'll say, okay, yeah, I did the fry cook. I'm like, okay, what time did you come in every day? Well, I came in at 9. What was the first thing you did as fry cook? Oh, the first thing I did was turn on the fryer, look at the prep list. Okay, what if the prep list wasn't done? What if the fryer needed to be cleaned? What if somebody else on the grill station called out sick? What is your job? Give me an example of your average prep list for the day, of the morning. Give me, and you just keep drilling them into the corner. As they say, well, I was responsible for making all the sauces. Then you look at them and say, well, or her, what sauces did you make? Oh, well, we had like 4 or 5 sauces, the buffalo sauce, and okay, was the buffalo sauce in a jar, or did you have to actually make it? Well, I made it. Okay, where did you find the recipe for this? See, so you keep asking them questions and backing them into the corner. And you can tell pretty quickly if they're BSing you or not. It happens pretty quick. You just keep following up another question, another question, another question, another question. And you'll see right away, man, this person knows, man, okay, I had 10 sauces to prep and the recipe had a recipe book there and I would make enough for a week and I would make this and that. And, you can simply tell what they're talking about. Super important. Back them, try to back them into a corner. Back them, the farther it takes to back them into a corner, the more they know what they're talking about, okay? Now here's the third thing. Qualifications are useless. A lot of qualifications are totally useless. I learned in culinary school that if somebody comes to you with 20 years experience, it could be 20 years the wrong experience. And when they're going to come in and they're going to fight you on what you're trying to do. Because they're going to say, well, I've been doing this for 20 years and this is how you do it. Wrong. So I explain to every person that I'm hiring this is the way we do it. We're very different than other restaurants. So be prepared to learn and adapt to what you've been taught or been doing the last 5, 10, 15 years, because we're not like that. If you're fine with adapting, we're fine with training. I always tell them that if you're fine to adapt, we're fine to train you to our specific way. Really what you want is attitude. Attitude over skill any day I would take. Some of the most successful people in my restaurant, the most successful bartenders I've had, the most successful servers I've had, the most successful kitchen staff I've had, are people that came in that were eager to learn, and I could mold and teach them what we wanted, and because they were disciplined and they were eager to learn, that they would just jump on and go, as opposed to a server coming in or a sous chef coming in that has tons of experience that's just not going, they're just going to fight you the whole way. So you want people that are going to actually jump on board with your mission, with your culture, and with your methods. And folks, that doesn't happen in a resume. That does not happen working 10 years at in New York City at the best restaurant, being a line cook. That doesn't happen there. It doesn't happen, being a wine sommelier and having certifications. It doesn't happen. Did an interview yesterday. A gentleman came to interview and he brought his girlfriend along, and she, as I'm looking for a job too, and as I'm interviewing her, I'm like, wow. She understands the mission that we're doing, right? Not saying that he was a bad interview, but she all of a sudden was like, well, I don't really have much experience. It turned out she did, but I said, I don't have much experience, she said. And she goes, I love the crystal you have back there. I love your mission. I love how you use local sunflower oil. I love this. I love that. I love that. I'm like, wow. So she gets what we're doing, right? She gets the theme. She gets the culture. And I was like, now that person would probably be a great hire, because they're buying into our why. And your why is so important. If you can get employees to buy into the why, team members to buy into the why of what you're doing, that's a home run right there. So those are a couple of tips on how to hire employees, how to interview employees. And you can ask all kinds of psychological questions, like if you were, an animal, what kind of animal would you be, and this and that. You can ask some of those kinds of questions. But remember, the workforce nowadays is not what it used to be. And, I used to be very strict. I used to be like, okay, here's your application, right? Here's your application. And on the top, I used to say, fill this out in a blue pen. I used to hand it to them. And if they came back to me and it was filled out in a black pen or a red pen or a green pen, I would know they're not paying attention to details. I'd be like, okay, that person has such lack in details that they're going to miss other things when I hire them. But as I found out with the potential workforce, nobody was giving me resumes that were filled out in a blue pen. They weren't even following basic instructions. So at that point, I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I've got to hire people that at least have the attitude that I can at least train to move forward. There's that very famous restaurant in Washington, D.C. that got Restaurant of the Year. I forgot what his name, Alan Silverson. I forgot what the name was. But they don't hire on resumes at all. You don't even come with a resume to your interview. You come there for what your attitude is, and and what you're going to provide, and this and that. Not what you've done already. That's kind of useless to this restaurant, and that's why they got voted #1 restaurant, because they have an amazing team. So I hope that helps you when you hire, bring people on, and of course, once you bring people on, The training is a whole nother realm that you have to get into. We're just talking about hiring people right now. But I do give you one word of advice on this. Most people that leave, especially disgruntled people that leave, that can typically be fixed by a regular coaching process, by going through and coaching them. If you think about this, your staff members are your team. The New York Yankees, the Mets, the Chicago, Bulls, they're all led by a coach that coaches them. Okay? He's the boss, he's the coach, he coaches them. You as a team leader, you're the coach. You have to keep coaching your staff. You have to keep coaching them and getting to the next level and having them achieve things and move forward, whether it's personally and professionally. Both, by the way, are super important with that. So, hope that helps. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. Thanks for watching, and that's it.